The training facility on Station Apex hummed with the sound of 1,000 alien cadets pushing their limits. Commander Vresh stood at the edge of the obstacle course, his 4 eyes scanning the group of recruits who thought they had what it took to join the Galactic Defense Initiative. Most of them would fail. That was the point. Only the strongest, the smartest, the most resilient would earn their place among the stars. Vresh clicked his mandibles together, a sound that made every cadet in earshot snap to attention. Good. Fear was a useful tool. It kept them sharp. Listen up. His voice boomed across the training ground. Today, you will attempt the gravity wells. For those of you who somehow miss a briefing, let me explain. You will carry a mass displacement unit across 300 meters of variable gravity. The weight starts at 50 kilograms. For every 10 meters you advance, it increases by 10 kilograms. By the end, you will be hauling 200 kilograms through triple standard gravity. A nervous ripple passed through the crowd. Vresh allowed himself a small satisfaction. They should be nervous. Most species in this galaxy, he continued, voice dripping with contempt, cannot complete this exercise. The Vraxians claim they are the strongest warriors in known space. Their best cadet made it to 240 meters before collapsing. The Kelthers, with their augmented exoskeletons, reached 260. No one, in the 15 cycles I've run this program, has completed the course. He paused, letting that sink in. You may begin when ready. Who wants to embarrass themselves first? A Kelth cadet stepped forward, his metallic exoskeleton gleaming under the harsh station lights. He was massive, easily 3 meters tall, with hydraulic joints that hissed as he moved. Perfect. The arrogant ones always went first. I am Thornak of Kelth Prime. The cadet announced, his voice synthesized through a vocal modulator. I will complete your course, Commander. Vresh said nothing. He had heard that confidence before. It usually ended in medics hauling broken bodies to the recovery wing. Thornak approached the starting line where the mass displacement unit waited. It looked deceptively simple, just a black rectangular box with handles on either side. The real challenge was invisible. The internal graviton field that made it progressively heavier, the way it seemed to pull against your very bones, the crushing psychological pressure of knowing that every step made the next one harder. The Kelth cadet gripped the handles, his exoskeleton whining with effort. He lifted. The muscles in his arms, both biological and mechanical, strained. He took one step, then another. Good progress. Actually, maybe this one would set a new record. At 50 meters, Thornak was breathing hard. At 100, his exoskeleton began to spark. At 150, he was barely moving, each step a battle against physics and willpower. At 200 meters, with 150 kilograms pulling him toward the ground through double gravity, Thornak fell to his knees. He tried to rise. Failed. Tried again. Failed again. Finally, he released the handles and collapsed forward, gasping for air. 200 meters, Vresh announced. Respectable. Medics, see to him. Next. 3 more cadets tried. A Vraxian with 4 arms made it to 190. A Zelthan with crystalline bone structure shattered at 120. A Beryllian, all muscle and rage, charged forward with pure aggression and made it to 210 before his hearts gave out. The medics were getting a work hate today. That was when the human arrived. Vresh noticed him immediately, not because the human was impressive, but because he was so thoroughly unimpressive. Small by galactic standards, barely 2 meters tall. No exoskeleton, no visible augmentation, no armor. He wore the standard-issue training uniform, gray and unremarkable. His skin was pale, his hair dark, his eyes an odd shade of blue that seemed to take in everything without revealing anything. The human walked with an easy confidence that made Vresh's mandibles twitch. Confidence without foundation was stupidity, and humans, while amusing in their tenacity, were physically unremarkable. They came from a death world, sure, but so did half the species in the initiative. It did not make them special. You are, Vresh demanded. Cadet Marcus Chen, so. The human's voice was calm, almost bored. Reporting for the gravity wells assessment. A laugh rippled through the remaining cadets. A human? Attempting the wells? This would be entertaining. Vresh regarded Marcus with open skepticism. You understand that Kelthers with military-grade exoskeletons have failed this course? You understand that Vraxians, who can lift small vehicles, have failed this course? Yes, sir. Marcus nodded. I watched them fail. The sarcasm was barely hidden. Vresh felt his temper spike. Arrogance from the strong was acceptable. Arrogance from the weak was intolerable. Then you understand, Vresh said coldly, that you have no chance of success. Marcus tilted his head, and something flickered in those blue eyes. Something that might have been amusement, or might have been calculation. Permission to speak freely, sir. Denied. Get on with it or get out. The human shrugged, a gesture Vresh recognized as dismissal. Humans were good at dismissive gestures. They had dozens of ways to show disrespect without technically breaking protocol. It was infuriating. Marcus approached the mass displacement unit. He looked at it for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then he bent down, gripped both handles, and lifted. The box came up smoothly. Too smoothly. Vresh checked his datapad. 50 kilograms. Confirmed. The graviton field was active. The human should be straining. Marcus started walking. Not shuffling, not struggling, just walking at a steady pace. His breathing was even. His posture was relaxed. He looked like he was carrying groceries, not a progressively increasing weight through variable gravity. At 50 meters, where Thornak had started to struggle, Marcus showed no signs of effort. At 100 meters, where the weight should now be 150 kilograms, he was still walking at the same steady pace. The training ground had gone silent. Every cadet, every instructor, every passing officer stopped to watch. At 150 meters, Marcus adjusted his grip slightly. That was all. Just a minor shift in how he held the handles. The weight was now 200 kilograms. The gravity was at double standard. He should have been crawling. He was still walking. Vresh felt something he had not felt in years. Uncertainty. This was not possible. Humans were not that strong. They were clever, yes. Stubborn, absolutely. But physically, they were average. Every assessment, every study, every bit of data the initiative had on human confirmed this. At 200 meters, Marcus paused. For a moment, Vresh thought the human had reached his limit. He prepared to call the medics. Then Marcus did something that made Vresh question his own eyes. The human shifted his grip. Instead of holding the box with both hands, he moved one hand to his side and continued holding the mass displacement unit with just his right hand. One hand. He was carrying 250 kilograms through double gravity with one hand. And he was smiling. Not a grin of effort or a grimace of pain. An actual smile. The kind that said he knew something everyone else did not, and he was enjoying their confusion. Marcus continued forward, one hand carrying the weight, the other swinging casually at his side. He could have been taking an afternoon stroll through a park. At 250 meters, the gravity increased to triple standard. The weight was now approaching 300 kilograms. The human's smile widened. He crossed the final 50 meters in 40 seconds. When he reached the finish line, he set the mass displacement unit down gently, as if it was something fragile. Then he turned to face Commander Vresh and every stunned cadet in the training ground. Course completed, sir, Marcus said. His breathing was slightly elevated. Slightly, like he had jogged up a flight of stairs. Permission to ask a question. Vresh stared at him. His mandibles hung open. His 4 eyes blinked independently, trying to process what they had witnessed. Finally, he managed to speak. Granted. When does the real training start? Marcus asked. Because if this is supposed to be difficult, I think there has been a mistake in the program design. The silence that followed was absolute. Then, from somewhere in the crowd of cadets, someone started laughing. It was a nervous, disbelieving laugh, but it spread. Within seconds, the entire training ground was filled with the sound of shocked laughter and excited chatter. Vresh should have been angry. He should have disciplined the human for insubordination. Instead, he found himself staring at his datapad, double-checking, triple-checking the readouts. Everything had been correct. The weight had increased. The gravity had multiplied. The human had completed a course that no one in 15 cycles had finished. With one hand. "What?" Vresh said slowly, carefully. "Are you?" Marcus met his eyes, and that smile took on a different quality. Something sharp. Something almost predatory. "I am a human from Earth, sir. We evolved in .98 standard gravity, which you classify as heavy world conditions. But here's what your assessments do not tell you. We did not just survive our gravity. We thrived in it. We climbed mountains where the air was too thin to breathe. We dug to ocean depths where the pressure should have crushed us. We adapted to every environment our planet threw at us, and our planet, Commander, tried very hard to kill us." He picked up the mass displacement unit again, this time with 2 fingers. Just 2 fingers, holding 300 kilograms like it was a briefcase. "You want to know how strong humans are? We are strong enough that our own strength terrifies us. We invented entire philosophies about restraint because without them, we would tear ourselves apart. Every human child learns from birth to be gentle, to hold back, to control ourselves, because our natural state is overwhelming force." Marcus set the unit down. "So yes, sir, I can lift heavy things. I can run far. I can endure pain that would break most species. Not because I am special among humans. I am completely average. This is just what we are. This is what evolution on a death world creates when it has millions of years to wait." The training ground had gone silent again. This time, it was not the silence of shock. It was a silence of realization, of understanding, of fear. Vresh looked at the human cadet standing before him, and for the first time in his long career, he wondered if the initiative had made a terrible mistake. Not in recruiting humans. No, the mistake was in thinking they understood what humans were capable of. "Report to Advanced Training Wing 7 tomorrow at 0600 hours. Vresh said quietly. "Dismissed." Marcus saluted and walked away, leaving behind a training ground full of cadets who suddenly realized they were not competing for the same positions they thought they were. The game had changed. The standards had shifted. Humanity had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same. The news of Marcus Chen's performance spread through Station Apex like wildfire through dried timber. By evening, every cadet, instructor, and officer knew the story. A human had completed the gravity wells. With one hand. The betting pool shifted overnight. Suddenly, humans were not the amusing newcomers. They were the ones to beat. Marcus sat in the common area of the human barracks, surrounded by his fellow cadets. They were celebrating, naturally. Humans always celebrated victories, even small ones. It was how they maintained morale in an often hostile universe. Did you see Vresh's face? Sarah Kowalski was laughing so hard she could barely speak. All 4 eyes just staring. I thought his mandibles were going to fall off. The Kelth cadet looked like someone had stolen his favorite toy, added James Torres. 3-meter-tall warrior in a military exoskeleton, and Marcus here just walks past his record like it is nothing. Marcus accepted their congratulations with good humor, but his mind was elsewhere. He had completed the gravity wells. Yes, but that was never the real objective. The real objective was about to reveal itself. At 2200 hours, his comm unit chimed. Private channel. Encrypted. He excused himself from the celebration and found a quiet corner. "Chen He." The voice on the other end was distorted, filtered through multiple encryption layers. "Impressive performance today, Cadet Chen. You have attracted considerable attention." "That was the plan," Marcus replied calmly. "Is he interested?" "Very. Sub-Commander Kralick has requested a private meeting with you. Tomorrow, 2300 hours, Observation Deck 9. He will be alone." Marcus felt a cold satisfaction settle in his chest. Finally, after months of preparation, months of playing the role of an average human cadet, he had the boss's attention. "Confirmed. I will be there." The channel closed. Marcus stood in the darkness for a moment, letting the mask slip, letting the rage he had carefully controlled for so long surface just briefly. Kralick, the architect of the Tau Ceti massacre, the alien who had ordered the destruction of humanity's first colony outside the solar system. 3,000 human civilians, gone in an instant because Kralick decided they were expanding too quickly, becoming too confident. The Galactic Initiative had called it a regrettable accident, a weapons malfunction. They had paid reparations and closed the investigation. But Marcus knew the truth. His sister had been on Tau Ceti. His sister, her husband, their 2 children, his family. And now, Kralick wanted to meet him. Perfect. The next day passed in a blur of routine training. Marcus performed well, but not exceptionally. He did not want to draw more attention than necessary. The other cadets, emboldened by his success, pushed themselves harder. The human contingent was starting to dominate the leaderboards across multiple disciplines. It was causing tension. At lunch, Marcus found himself approached by Thornak, the Kelth cadet who had attempted the gravity wells before him. The massive alien's exoskeleton was still showing scorch marks from his effort. Human, Thornak said, his synthesized voice carrying an edge Marcus could not quite identify. I would speak with you. I am listening, Marcus replied, keeping his tone neutral. Yesterday, I saw you complete the course. Today, I access the public records of human physiology. Your species' baseline strength is 0.7 standard units. The gravity wells require minimum 3.2 standard units of sustained output. Explain. Marcus smiled. This was a conversation he had been expecting. Your records are based on human civilians, office workers, farmers, scientists. You are looking at baseline averages across the entire population, including the very young and the very old. Thornak's optical sensors focus intently. Continue. What you did not account for, Marcus said, leaning forward, is that humans have always had warriors, soldiers, athletes, individuals who train their bodies beyond civilian standards. On Earth, we have Olympic weightlifters who can lift 3 times their body weight. We have soldiers who can march 50 kilometers carrying 80 kilograms of gear. We have athletes who run ultramarathons through deserts and mountains. The human baseline is not the human maximum, not even close. Then why, Thornak asked slowly, do your assessments not reflect this? Because we let you underestimate us, Marcus said simply. It is a very human strategy. Let your enemy think you are weak. Let them grow confident. Then, when it matters most, show them what you are really capable of. The surprise is a weapon all by itself. Thornak was silent for a long moment. Then, shockingly, he laughed. It was a harsh, mechanical sound, but genuine. You humans are more dangerous than your physical capabilities suggest. You are clever, deceptive. I respect this. I also fear this. Good, Marcus said. Fear keeps you cautious. Caution keeps you alive. They parted on oddly friendly terms. Marcus suspected he had just made an ally, or at least earned a measure of respect. That would be useful later. For now, he had to prepare for tonight. 2,300 hours arrived with the slow inevitability of fate. Marcus made his way through the station's corridors, moving with purpose but not haste. Observation Deck 9 was in a less trafficked section, perfect for a private conversation, perfect for what was about to happen. He arrived to find Sub-Commander Kralick already there, standing before the massive viewport that showed the star field beyond. The alien was a Varanthi, a species known for their bureaucratic efficiency and absolute ruthlessness in pursuing what they considered the greater good. Kralick was tall and thin, with 6 arms and a head that seemed too large for his body. His skin was a pale gray, and his eyes, all 3 of them, glowed with a soft amber light. Cadet Chen, Kralick said without turning, you have become quite the sensation aboard this station. I did what was required of me, sir, Marcus replied, stepping into the room. The door slid shut behind him with a soft hiss. They were alone. More than required, I think, Kralick continued. You demonstrated capabilities that surprised everyone, including, I suspect, your own species. Tell me, is this a common trait among humans? This hidden strength? Marcus moved closer, his footsteps echoing in the large space. Common enough. We do not advertise our capabilities. People tend to get nervous when they realize how much damage we could do if we wanted to. Kralick finally toned, his 3 eyes studying Marcus with unsettling intensity. I have heard rumors, whispers in the command structure. Some say that humans are not content with their current position in the initiative. Some say you are planning something. Expansion, perhaps even aggression. Is that what you think, sir? Marcus asked, his voice carefully neutral. I think, Kralick said slowly, that humans are dangerous. I think you breed too quickly, adapt too easily, and refuse to acknowledge your proper place in the galactic hierarchy. I think, Cadet Chen, that your species is a problem that will need to be addressed sooner rather than later. There it was. The admission Marcus had been waiting for. Not a confession of Tau Ceti, not yet, but close enough. Kralick was revealing his prejudice, his fear, his willingness to act on that fear. Address how, so? Marcus asked, taking another step closer. That depends entirely on how cooperative your species proves to be, Kralick replied. His middle hands moved to his sides, resting near the plasma pistol holstered there. He was cautious, but not cautious enough. I am told you humans value strength. Respect it. Perhaps, if you understand that there are species far beyond you in power, you will accept your limitations. Marcus laughed. It was not the laugh of a subordinate. It was cold, hard, filled with something that made Kralick's hand tighten on his weapon. You think you are beyond us? Marcus asked, and now the mask was gone entirely. You think your technology, your alliances, your centuries of galactic dominance make you superior? Let me tell you something about humans, Sub-Commander. We spent 10,000 years fighting each other. We built weapons that could sterilize continents. We created machines of war so terrible that we banned ourselves from using them. We turned our own planet into a laboratory for death, and we did it long before we ever left our solar system. He took another step. Kralick drew his weapon. Too slow. Humans were always faster than aliens expected. Marcus moved with the speed of a striking serpent. His hand caught Kralick's wrist, and the bone shattered with an audible crack. The plasma pistol clattered to the floor. Kralick tried to use his other arms, but Marcus was already inside his guard, one hand on the alien's throat, lifting him off the ground with contemptuous ease. You want to know about Tau Ceti? Marcus said, his voice dropping to a whisper. I know it was you. I know you ordered the strike. I know you covered it up. 3,000 humans, including my family, and you called it an accident. Kralick's eyes widened with recognition and fear. He struggled, but he was helpless in Marcus's grip. For all his technological advantages, for all his species' vaunted superiority, he was nothing when faced with raw human strength and human rage. I am not going to kill you, Marcus said. That would be too easy, too quick. Instead, I am going to do something much worse. I am going to let you live. Let you report what happened here tonight. Let you tell every species in the initiative that humans know what you did. Let you spend every remaining moment of your miserable existence wondering when we will come for you. Because we will come. Kralick, maybe not today. Maybe not this year. But humans never forget. And we never forgive. He threw the alien across the room. Kralick hit the far wall hard enough to crack the reinforced plating. Marcus turned and walked toward the door, then paused. Oh, and Kralick, if anything happens to any human anywhere in initiative space, if there is even one suspicious accident, one unexplained malfunction, one regrettable incident, every human in the galaxy will know who is responsible. We are 3 billion strong now. We are on 1,000 worlds. We are in your military, your government, your infrastructure. You cannot stop all of us. You cannot even stop one of us, as you just learned. So sleep well, Sub-Commander. Dream of what happens when humanity stops being patient. Marcus left Observation Deck 9 and made his way back through the station. He felt lighter somehow. The rage that had driven him for months was still there, but it was satisfied for now. The message had been delivered. Kralick would talk. Word would spread. Humanity's true capabilities were no longer a secret. In his quarters, he found a message waiting. It was from Earth Command, encrypted at the highest level. He opened it and read quickly. The content made him smile. The Human Diplomatic Corps had just delivered formal demands to the Initiative Council. Full disclosure on Tau Ceti. Independent investigation. Justice. And if those demands were not met within 30 days, humanity would withdraw from the Galactic Initiative and pursue alternative arrangements. It was a polite way of saying that humans would form their own alliances, build their own fleets, and become an independent power. The Initiative had thought humans were weak. desperate for acceptance, willing to overlook injustices for the privilege of joining galactic society. They had been wrong, catastrophically wrong. Humans had been patient, yes, but patience was not weakness. It was strategy, and now the strategy was paying off. Marcus lay back on his bunk and closed his eyes. Tomorrow, there would be consequences. Questions, probably an investigation. But tonight, for the first time since Tau Ceti, he slept soundly. The weight he had been carrying, the burden of rage and grief and helplessness, had been lifted. And in the corridors of Station Apex, in the meeting rooms of the Initiative Council, in the command centers of 1,000 worlds, the galaxy was learning a lesson that Earth had known for millennia. Never underestimate humanity. Never mistake patience for weakness. And never, ever threaten something a human loves. Because humans might struggle with the weight of peace. They might struggle with the burden of restraint. But when it came to war, when it came to revenge, when it came to protecting their own, humans could lift any weight, overcome any obstacle, and they would do it with one hand tied behind their backs if necessary. The cadets had struggled with the weight. The human had lifted it with one hand. And the galaxy would never be the same.